I'm getting bum rushed by
Mr. Fantasy Receipts. We are live. Excuse me. 12-team Superflex PPR 1.75 tight end premium start 10. Mr. Receipts, are you going Hollywood Brown and the 108 or the 106? Go ahead, man.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, boys. Easy answer, 106. Get myself the top 3 QB or the top 3 wide receivers in this class. Don't look back. Hollywood is a sell candidate right now. Sell high, make some profit, run.
Yeah. What do you think, Scott? Where's your head at on this one?
Man, well, what can I do with another receiver that has come out of nowhere and all of a sudden is a stud, a.k.a. Deontay Johnson, Jerry Jeudy, Hollywood Brown? These guys have renewed life in the past week. Still probably go to 106. You can probably forego that extra Hollywood Brown to move up, especially if you are quarterback needy. Mr. Receipts nailed it. If you need a quarterback, especially, this gets you in the range where you probably have a choice at one versus they all could be gone. So I'll take the 106 here.
Shane, where you at, dude?
I said the 106 an hour and a half ago when you first asked this off air.
You mean an hour and a half ago? You mean like 30 seconds ago?
Same difference. I have no concept of time. Time isn't an actual real thing. The only reason to take Hollywood in the 108 is if you have someone in your league chirping about how Hollywood's going to be the wide receiver one in Kansas City. But I don't know why they wouldn't have already traded for them. But, that's the only reason I can think. But, yeah, it's the 106 by about $1 billion.
Yeah.
Fantasy Receipts, would you go Hollywood Brown or the 202? Same format here. 12-team Superflex PPR 1.75.
At that point, 202 could definitely be looked at as a dart throw. I'm probably going to grab Hollywood, hope he produces early, flip him for a mid-25-1, and profit.
What do you think about that, Shane? You were very, very adamant about the.
I definitely stopped listening. What?
202 or Hollywood, Shane?
202. 202. I traded Hollywood for the 206 and a third in I think it's a 12-team start 11 last week. So, yeah, see ya.
Well, Shane sold probably a little lighter than the market, but I get it. You have waited a year to get liquidity for Hollywood, and now you finally have it. So if you want to get a little bold and wait, you can take him into the season. I think Mr. Receipts nailed it, man. He could smash in Kansas City to a point where somebody goes, you know what? I want him. There's gamble, though, because if he gets injured, now you're going, I can't move him at all. But I just want to say this. There's risk with that 202 as well. You might think there's a ton of stud receivers in this class, but there's so much saturation at the position. It could easily get right back to where it was.
Scott, I also think what Hollywood owner is not selling for a first? I think they're so high on this landing spot. They only want a first.
Yep.
Let me go see how many Hollywood Brown shares I have left. I have... Okay, it's getting low. None. I have none. So I got out on the Hollywood trade. Look, I loved Hollywood 2 years ago. Me and Scott were pumping him up. Like, dude, you're not putting respect on Hollywood's name. He's really good when he's healthy. And then 2 years ago happened. And then we said the same thing, like, hey, not as hard, though. You know what I mean? We were a little less like, oh, we really love Hollywood. It was more like, yeah, I'd do him. No,
you diagnosed him with glass foot syndrome. Do you recall that? Yeah.
Yes. And after last year, it's just like, dude, I give up. I'm not going through this anymore. Like, because if he does have one more bad season, half season, quarter of a season, I'll be trying to sell him for a fourth and people will be laughing at me. I'm just happy to move off of him. If I end up regretting it, sure. Year 7 breakout, good luck.
Fantasy Receipts, how many let's get a little baseline on you. How many dynasty leagues do you play in, and what's your favorite format?
Okay. Best ball is absolutely growing on me. Set it and forget it. Profit. I'm a big fan of best ball right now. I'm in around 5 dynasty leagues. I told you guys earlier, I'm an MFL stan at the end of the day. I'm still getting used to Sleeper a little bit. So old school OG MFL fan over here. And my whole, I want to say personally, there's 3 of us in the Fantasy Receipts team. Right now, got 1 rebuild for competing teams and just trying to get the most out of the rookie pick fever and sell for some veterans that are actually going to matter come week 1.
So if you were to set up a league, you're the commission, you're going in there and literally setting it up yourself. What are the settings? How many teams, how many starters, all of that?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of IDP. So if I'm going to go carte blanche, we're doing a 14 team tight end premium, super flex, 6 IDP starters, 2 DL, 2 linebacker, 2 DBs, and probably start, let's see, 10 to 14, pretty shallow benches, maybe go 32 overall roster spots.
So that's actually a funny question because we sent out the Google form asking for anonymous questions or comments for fantasy receipts. And here's one right here. It was, why do you only repost offensive fantasy football takes? Where's the IDP love? Do you not play IDP? Interesting. So do you not do any IDP receipts?
The community is so small in there. Like, I feel bad trying to rip these guys apart. They're just trying to make a name for themselves. But I play IDP, big fan of the format. I think it's so underappreciated in the community. It's like, what's the point of only playing half the side of the ball? But I should get into IDP a little bit more. There's so much variance year to year, especially when you think about like safety values, defensive end values, defensive schemes changing. It's hard to really, I want to say, knock someone down for a take given the variance on that side of the ball.
Yep. No, sounds good. So let's do this. It was interesting when I was thinking up this show, and we had JJ Zacharyson on the books as well. Okay. So I was like, all right, we have the purity of JJZ, and then you have fantasy receipts to bookend it on the back, right? So I even asked fantasy receipts. I was like, hey, do you have beef? Do you have beef with this guy? I was like, I can't jack up that stream. Anyway, why did you want to come on? Why did you want to come on, and why haven't you ever come after us?
Yeah, it's been 17 months. This is the first, let's call it, appearance that's not behind a tweet. I think there's a really core reason I took this on, Clay. You three don't take yourself too seriously, and that is the North Star of why this conversation over the next 45 minutes is going to be really productive. You get to a point where you three realize takes are going to be wrong, players are not going to perform as expected, and it's okay to be wrong. There are other people in different boats that can't stand to be wrong, that think are locked into take lock, and also, unfortunately, take themselves too seriously. So I've been following the show for a long time. Shane, you're one of my favorite, I want to call it, Twitter followers. And this opportunity, and Scott and Clay, of course, like, this show is a staple of the Dynasty community, and you don't take yourself too seriously. You have the ability to laugh. You have the ability to go back and look at misses and actually be constructive about it and not defensive. When folks start getting defensive, that kind of gives us a little bit more runway to dig in, and they're putting the target on themselves at that point.
Yeah, so yes, I got a couple colorful
Comments.
DMs. Yes, colorful DMs
Let's hear it.
directly. No, and it was a bit sad per se on one of them because he's one of our big supporters. I
boy.
recognized the name immediately, and he was like, "You're having them on? Pathetic."
Okay.
What I responded saying, excuse me, what I responded saying was, "What do you think we're going to have them on here? Give them this platform, show that we're like allies and whatnot? No, you'll like us the same. If you liked us before, you'll like us after." But do you beat up on people too much? You think you beat up on people too much? Like, there was that reporter guy, but I don't even know what his name is. I try to block it. There's like a quarterly manic episode on Twitter. I think he was the most recent one, but go ahead.
We have gone too deep on a few topics and a few different people to the point where we're beating a dead horse. Fully admit that. And we're still trying to figure out what's the right way to run this account, what's the right way to run this brand. But let's take a step back. 17 months, we got 27,000 followers out of nowhere. That tells you, one, there's an appetite for this type of content, and two, there's an entertainment factor. So do we go hard on a few two people? Absolutely. And those are learning lessons that we'll take into the future. But do I see the momentum stopping anytime soon? I don't think so. I mean, every day there's a new account that pops up, Jason3742_FF, that in a year will have 1,500 followers, and in 2 years will have 5,000 and is writing for Dynasty Nerds or DLF or Dynasty Fantasy Factory. The fact that people can really start from nothing and become something, and that we can be a part of that, sure. Like, we're going to continue to make this brand what it is.
Yeah. How do you plan on scaling? Are you hiring right now and building out your team? And how do you plan on scaling it? And what's the goal?
Well, Clay, I'm going to review your resume for the intern role. That's one thing. But honestly, I think I told you this yesterday. 90% of the content we post is user sent and submitted. It's not me sleuthing. It's not the other two guys sleuthing. It's not me really like rolling up the sleeves. There is a weird subset of Twitter that are just our little minions and our little army that send us stuff hourly, daily. We have to decide what to post, what's going to
It's
not end up.
crowdsourced.
Yeah, exactly. So I would love this team to grow, and there's a side of me that wants to get into fantasy baseball, fantasy basketball. The problem is those communities are a little less prevalent on Twitter.
So do you guys have a question for him? Scott, Shane, anything come to mind? You're sitting there listening.
I mean, so that sucked because I wanted to know like why who you picked to go after, but he answered that like in part of your question. Like that was like literally my biggest question.
I've got one. I've got one right here. Let me put this up because this was one of the questions from the forum. Kind of lines up. Which fantasy analysts you call out do you dislike the most? Who do you actually like the most? I think I know the answer to your second one, but go ahead.
I don't want to make this into bashing anyone. That's not why I have this forum, and it's not what I want to do with this podium. So let me pass on the first one. You could probably scroll through my timeline and tell who we like to dog on. Who I like the most, the team over at the Undroppables, and again, no relation. This is simply multiple years of following and watching content. Jocks, Scott, Mr. Falcone, he's been, there's a lot of mutual admiration there. I think he doesn't take him too seriously. He's same bucket as you gentlemen. And there's some levity to the way he approaches disputes, where he'll honestly, not take it too personally and find a way to, I don't know, have the last say in a respectful way. Something we have not really figured out how to do. So long story short, Jax is a great person. Honestly, Derek and I are coming around. Debro and I have posted a lot of stuff back and forth, and he's always been an absolute champ about it. He's someone who's rolled with the punches recently, and I can't appreciate that enough. But I'm not going to answer the first part of the question.
No
we
problem.
don't hate anybody, but we think there are certain people out there that put themselves on a pedestal that don't deserve it.
So here's a question. I won't bother making the banner real quick, but why don't you ever go ahead, Shane?
Well, I was just going to say, do you think there's people out
please.
there that kind of take it? I don't want to say take advantage of it, but kind of ride the victim role. You ain't got it. And again, you don't have to name anyone.
I do. At the end of the day, I'm hitting retweet on something they posted. Let's just boil it down to that. If they didn't want commentary, don't throw it out into the ether. Like, at the end of the day, I'm reposting with a little sass on top. Clay and I talked about this yesterday. We put a little zinger in there, try to get a little, engagement going on the original retweet. At the end of the day, my content is someone else's original work.
Did something, here's a random question.
Sure.
Did something happen to make you want to like all of a sudden create this account? You're like, you know what? F this. I've been thinking about this. I'm gonna pull it up. Did you get called out on a take or something? Talk to me about it. How did it start?
I'll tell you, I was scrolling through my iPhone and I was like, I have way too many screenshots of bad takes just for my own way. And I'm in, got Slack groups and group me with all the different Dynasty folks I play with. And we laugh about all the content that gets thrown out into the Twitter sphere. I realized, I was like, man, I have less photos of my dogs and cats and kids, and I have all these damn Twitter screenshots. There's probably someone else that wants to see this. It wasn't that I had a really bad take, went viral, got destroyed on Twitter. It was more like, okay, there's years worth of content to start throwing out there, and no one else was doing it yet. So it felt like the golden opportunity to just start this thing. It was like early October last year, and I think in the first 10 days we got 12,000 followers. And I'm not a Twitter historian, but I think that's pretty damn good.
I am a Twitter historian. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Scott, you got one?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I think one of the things that, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but one of the things that makes me the fantasy analyst, the fantasy player, whatever it is I started with a Twitter account that I created way back in the day that I had no purpose that I would ever turn it into anything close to what it is today. I didn't know Twitter would become that, right? I started as a Dynasty player, the person seeking out the information, seeking out the forums, seeking out Slack groups and Discords and GroupMe's and Twitter as a place to learn and get better. And then it got into, all right, I enjoy making content. I enjoy talking. I enjoy coming on and live streaming and debating. And I mean, those are two different things that have come together and gotten to this place where we are with Trades in 5 and just this industry. I mean, if you would have told me 5 years ago that you would be in a place where you're doing this every single week, multiple times, you know, having a community that we've been able to build and have it be a hobby that you still absolutely love. And I think that's the thing that has irked me in the past is, and I'll be honest, I love the accounts like the Old Takes Exposed and the Freezing Cold Takes. I will tweet fantasy receipts when I see something that's absolutely egregious. And Fantasy Receipts has retweeted some of my stuff before. I don't mind being called out on a bad take, but I'll tell you what, it's rooted in me doing it myself, my own research, my own process as a player. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I mean, everyone that saw the teaser video today, some god-awful takes. You can go back through Trades in 5 history. There's been things that Shane and I have said that I'm kind of embarrassed to be put out there. But there needs to be accountability. There are a lot of people that have gotten into this industry, and I'll just be absolutely real and candid. They don't play. They have no skin in the game. They tell other people to do stuff that they don't do, and they're just looking to go somewhere, get a name, get some exposure, make a little money, but they have never had any skin in the game, ever. They don't play for any stakes. They don't play in really anything competitive. They're just out there talking. And when you challenge them, it starts to become like retreating. And it's not even that you want to get in a back and forth. It's just the lack of accountability. And I appreciate when some of our people in here will call me out on bad takes. Yes, God, that's not a good take. The comments in the stream, and I appreciate those people. And I'm never going to come at those people for saying you got something wrong. But I will come at people when they say, you know, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not actually out there doing it and living it. And I think that's where, you know, there's a lot of comments in there tonight that are polarizing. You know, who is this guy? Why is he out there? He's not good for the industry. I've got a couple messages like that as well. And you know what? The reality is this place is all a very small niche community. And it's something that if it ever got ruined or went away, the experience, I've seen some great people, and I'm sure Shane has too, that have been here and have been run out because they just don't like where the space has gone. And that's a shame. But at the same time, you got to have some thick skin. You got to be able to come back tomorrow and say, you know what? That was a bad take yesterday. I made a mistake. My process from a year ago, 2 years ago, was bad. But you know what? I'm going to continue to make my podcast. I'm going to continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to get better. But the bottom line is, unlike a lot of content creators out there in this space that work at some big sites, there's no skin in the game. They're just putting shit out to put it out, to get clicks. They don't care if it's right or wrong. They don't care if their listeners necessarily are actually finding it actionable. They're just out there putting it out there to put it out there. And that's never going to be us. That's never going to see me. That's never going to be Shane. We are out there. When we turn this stream off, we go to our sleeper or our MFL, and we're doing what we're talking about on this show. And that is why I supported having Fantasy Receipts on tonight. Not because, oh man, I love when he comes at somebody, because you've buried some people before. You've absolutely buried some people, and some people that I like. And I go, yeah, I'm not going to pile on onto that one. But there needs to be accountability and skin in the game. And that I think is something that everybody, whether they like you or not, should continue to kind of say, you know what, there's a place for that. They don't want to follow your account. They don't want to retweet it, support it. That's fine. But to say it's a joke and it has no place and you shouldn't be in this industry, I mean, get out of here. Every single industry should have some sort of accountability.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Of course.
Yeah.
And Shane, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do you believe the creation of the ad revenue share platform that Elon pushed out maybe 9 or so months ago has contributed to the amount of engagement farming and clickbait BS out there? And do you think people are only creating accounts to hit that 5 million impression threshold to start taking home, their $14 a month to go buy themselves a burrito on Friday? Is that ruining this space as well?
I'll say this because I've been in the space forever, as you know. There's always been clickbait out there. There's always been people that would just tweet stuff just to get the views, just to get the retweets. Like we don't even need, honestly, $14 is not changing anyone's life. I think that's an added bonus. It's like, cool, I got a pack of cigarettes in Pennsylvania, maybe not New York. I got a pack of cigarettes out of this. But there's people that just get a hard on when they get retweets. And I'm a bit of a narcissist. I'll admit that, there's times I look at tweets that I sent out and I'm like, oh, I got a lot of views. I'm good at something. You know what I mean? So I don't want to do that when it's just clickbaity, but that's always been part of the game, I think.
So I saw, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say this. There are, over the last 2 years or so, since Twitter has changed to X and it's totally different than it was a couple years ago, you can tell those accounts that are just engagement farming. They'll post the same stuff day after day after day. But I will defend a lot of new creators in this space. They've embraced it. That's what the industry is. That's what the technology is. Like if you're going to say, oh, that's not how it was done 5 years ago. And at the same time, you're not going to give those people for looking at something and saying, hey, this is a business opportunity. I can grow my account, even if it's engagement farming, even if I'm never going to respond. Because there's people out there that as soon as they respond to something that's negative, they'll just block them.
Yep.
They just get blocked. I don't want to see anybody negative, and that's not the reality of the world, right? But there are people that I have to give credit to that I might say, you know what? Probably wouldn't watch that person's Dynasty content or take their Dynasty advice, but they've built a hell of a brand. They've gotten jobs out of it. They've been successful at that part. So I think it's important to recognize that we're not everybody is Shane and I. Not everybody got into this for Shane and I. Our goals are not the exact same thing. I did want to ask a question, even though I went on like a 10-minute soliloquy there.
Go for it, man.
For fantasy receipts, I mean, this is going to be one. This is going to go right in the paint at you. But what makes you feel like you are the authority to hold Dynasty content creators or fantasy content creators accountable? Like what made you think, you know what, I need to be that person? I am all knowing. I'm taking that responsibility. What makes you feel like you should be the authority in this space?
Oh, that's a really good question, Scott. And if anything, it's a slice of humble pie. There is nothing giving me this card to be the moral authority in the space. But when someone tweets something out and I get tagged 25 times in it in a 30-minute span, there is a bat signal out that this should be called out. Let's highlight it. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out why did this person decide to do what they did. And if there's this hunger and appetite from the consumers of the content, and they're saying like, oh, this is not something we want to see, or this is some BS, or look at this guy just wants some clicks, we have now the viewership, the following to call it out. So have we taken on a little bit more than we can chew? Absolutely. There's no reason we should be the moral compass in the space, but we've leaned into it enough where we're getting away with it. And until we do something that makes us realize we shouldn't be the moral compass, we're probably going to continue to do it. I want to talk about the combine.
Let's sorry, real quick.
Sure.
Let's get Ray G in the house, man. I see him looking sharp there in the background. He still owes me the hat that's on his head. Yeah, we'll get there at some point. What's up, Ray?
How y'all fellas doing tonight?
What's up, Ray?
We're doing well.
What up? Yeah, I've been enjoying this. It's been interesting to sit back and listen to everything and listen to y'all talk about this and read the comments. So I've been enjoying this type of conversation. I don't think this is the first time I've heard something like this or seen something like this happen. So kudos to y'all for coming together to do this.
Yeah, Ray, I wanted to have you on, and then Mr. Receipts we'll get to your combine thing. But I wanted Ray on because he's always said, I've got receipts. When I set this show up, I was like, this has got Ray written all over it. But he, Mr. Receipts, as you were,
Sure.
with the combine.
And Ray, great to see you. Huge fan.
What's happening with you, baby?
Thank you for always being a proponent of us. You're one of the real ones. So let's go back to the combine and let's talk about the first question that Caleb Williams got. I think we all know the context here. That was probably one of the few examples where we spent 2.5 days on that topic, posting replies, posting commentary. Do you think it was appropriate for us to go that hard at Dustin? I mean, I'll pose the question to the four of you.
Who wants to chime in first?
Oh, I'll answer.
We all saw it. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Shane.
yeah. So I'll say yes because I know me and Scott had some disagreements about that topic. And my thought was, and I don't know Dustin that well. He took it down later. I'll just say this: if you want to present yourself as a journalist, I think there's a certain level of professionalism that you need to have, and I feel if you're going to the combine. You're presenting yourself as a journalist, not some, and I don't know how to say this right? Like some rando fantasy dude that's not a journalist, basically. And that's how the question came out. Like he's a random, like just Yahoo off the street would ask that type of question. Like a journalist would ask that question in a way that didn't belittle the person that he was asking, and in a way that wasn't like, well, look at me, look what I did. Because that's, if you really wanted to answer to that question, you could have worded it that completely different. And that was my issue with it, is if you want to pretend is a hard word. If you want to present yourself as a journalist, then present yourself as a journalist. Do that. Don't be some like shock jock up there when you got your journalist badges, whatever they're called.
The lanyard. Yeah, I got
you
it. Yeah.
I mean, I got thoughts, Ray. You got any thoughts on the question? I'll just say this. After I got into, and just for the backstory, Shane and I got into it a little bit in the Discord about, was it appropriate what he asked? And now the more that I think about it, I actually think Shane is right. It wasn't so much I did not have a problem with asking these athletes. I mean, let's face it. Fantasy football and gambling is what's driving the popularity of this sport. So to say it doesn't have a place at something like the Combine or the Senior Bowl or the Super Bowl or any of these big events is wrong. And that was, I think, what I didn't appreciate was, oh man, these fantasy analysts that are showing up at these places, they don't have a place. But the journalist from the Houston Chronicle that's been there for 35 years, that dude should be the one that gets all the questions. No, there's a place for everybody. Now, should he have approached it in a different way? The approach was, I think, where I would have done it differently. So you can approach yourself, you can approach it in a way that's professional, but you can also ask something that's not the same questions that these guys are going to get. And I think that has a place when our industry, the gambling industry, all this stuff is ingrained in, literally what is driving a lot of the opportunity for these guys even before they get to the NFL. So I think it's fair to ask them about these topics. There's just a place and a time, but more importantly, a way to do it. And the more that I look at it, he probably could have done it in a more professional way. I agree with you, Shane.
If you contrast how Ray asks prospects at the Senior Bowl, who do you basically mock your game after? And Ray does it with such ease and such delicacy compared to what Dustin did of not even let Caleb finish his hello to the group and just blurts it out. I think there's a huge contrast between a seasoned pro like Ray, who can handle themselves in front of professional athletes, and what we saw at the Combine.
Yeah, and as far as the question, did he deserve that? Did he deserve that level of backlash? Like my mom always told me, you play silly games, you win silly prizes. And when you do something that elicits a response, you can't then be the judge and the arbiter of how hard somebody comes back at you. Like you just gotta eat it, right? You can't just, yeah, I deserved a little bit, but not too much. Like that's what it's going to be in today's age of social media and the way that the world works. That's just the way it's going to be. So, I mean, you play silly games, you win silly prizes, right?
So we only have Mr. Receipts on for another 10 minutes. He has to run. And yeah, it's funny, Fantasy Receipts. We got a bunch of forum questions, and there are a lot of football questions. So I think what we could do is me and you can do like a recorded video or something and hit these football questions that they wanted to. But yeah, this doesn't seem like the forum for that yet. We're gonna hit trades after you have to hop off.
Okay.
So the question is though, why do fantasy content creators get so butthurt from constructive criticism? How much is too much constructive criticism? And why do some fantasy content creators die on a hill rather than admit they're wrong? This is a Justin Fields question. Now, what do you think? I mean, them getting butthurt from constructive criticism. What came to mind there?
No one wants to see their own takes or their own brand get diminished or take a hit. I also think people want that one North Star to hold on to. I think of Derek and Puka. He called Puka early. He's going to ride that wave for years, if not a decade, especially if Puka turns out to be who we think he could be. But why get so butthurt over 250 characters about a fake game? Like, let's just boil it down to that. I understand it's your brand and it's what you want to put out there. You want to be known as the person who hits on rookies and you hit on veterans, but there's no reason to get butthurt. And I'm still trying to just figure it out. Why does someone get so defensive? Actually, I want to highlight something from Scott. I spent 30 minutes trying to find some receipts of yours. And what I found was really positive dialogue when you disagreed with somebody. You didn't block them. You didn't call them a name. You said, well, here's why my stance is what it is. People need to take a page out of your book and stop saying, throwing out into the ether, Jameson Williams is going to be a top 5 receiver in 2024, and then mute. What's the point of that? Why is that productive? I think more people need to take a page out of Scott's book and actually have substance behind it. Otherwise, you're just a face and a name throwing crap into Twitter.
Yep. Okay, let's go to this question right here. So it's, why are you the way you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things you choose to be. What do you think about this one? This one's special. This one's lovely.
That one's
This
tough.
is an
That
early
seems personal.
early submission.
Yeah. If you're listening and you submitted that question, DM us because I'd love to talk to you about it. Why are we the way we are? I think we're extremely polarizing. You either love us or hate us, or you're on the verge of one of those two. But at the end of the day, no one's perfect, and we're talking about a fake game. So it's back to the core philosophy I first started off with, which is let's not take ourselves so seriously.
Sure. If any questions come up in your heads, Ray, Scott, Shane, any thoughts? Nope. Okay. I'll come up with another one from the forum here. What was it? Well, there was one. It's are you still a virgin? I'll just say that one. I won't make a banner for it.
Brutal. No. Moving on. Next question.
This one is, why do you never seem to go after the big names like the fantasy footballers? I do remember them though, like quote tweeting one of your things, and it was like Jason, one of them. Yeah, like you did find a receipt. Talk about that though.
Sure.
Talk about the big names that you've connected with.
Yeah. The moment I saw the momentum really start rolling downhill, and Adam Rank self-submitted something 7 days in, and he said, go have fun with this. Please.
It's your Oprah moment. It's your Oprah moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Adam, JJ, but with the fantasy footballers, they produce a segment every year called My Guys I Got Wrong. And that is them unsolicited calling themselves out. And I talked to Andy. He's shared some positive sentiments at the account, basically also saying don't go too hard. But those guys have such a platform where they're already doing the self-accountability. My extra retweet doesn't change someone's opinion about Andy or those guys. So, Matthew Berry and I've spoken with some of the folks on that team. They're not really willing to engage. They find it a little bit more childish. That's fine, to each their own. But I think the kind of segment that we're in right now of those 5,000 to 15,000 follower analysts is probably the sweet spot where we're going to stay.
That's a lot. Go ahead.
What's the end game? I'm just curious. What's the end game? When it's all said and done, and you continue to grow, keep doing what you're doing. What ultimately, what is it that that you want to gain? Is it just purely for analysts to take accountability for something? If everybody did that, is there no longer a need for what you do? But just curious of what the end game is for you. What does this look like when it's all said and done?
Yeah. I mean, right. To say like the brand took off way more than we thought. So our end game is one, promote accountability. Two, it's entertainment at the end of the day. I think about when you go to a casino with $100 in your pocket, you're expecting to lose it. That $100 is for pure entertainment. When you come to the fantasy receipts page, this is for entertainment. I'm not trying to hurt anyone personally or professionally. We're not trying to have someone potentially lose their job. That's not what this is about. The end game is there's going to be an influx and a continued growth in the fantasy football, gambling, NFL Twitter space. There should be some voice of reason that calls out the BS. So if we can just maintain that type of presence in the state and in the industry, that's the end game. Not making t-shirts. I'm not making a Patreon. I don't have the IP for someone to want to listen to me about what to do with their fantasy or dynasty team. Sure, I play it myself, but I'm not going to go, I want to say, recommend, buy, sell, add, trade, whatever it might be. The end game is promote accountability, don't take yourself too seriously, and let's just be a voice of reason. If someone throws out a take that you know is just meant for clicks, I'm going to retweet it. And people can agree or disagree, but let's just, I want to say, make Twitter normal again. And not have such extremes on both ends of the spectrum where you can just immediately read a tweet and say, yeah, that had no substance to it.
Yeah. A question too that we get a lot, or what is it, Dream? Are you ever going to reveal yourself?
It's a good
We've got
question.
somebody in the crowd, it was Slashy, who 100% knows who you are, but isn't going to say anything. Are you going to show yourself? You want to show yourself tonight? You want to do it tonight?
Not on this stream. I appreciate the forum to do it, but it's not the right time or place. Maybe 50K, maybe 75. Not sure. There's
Can
no
we
point.
get dibs? Can we
There's
get
no
dibs
point
on that when
in-
it happens?
I'll take bets right now. But I can just say like this. Us staying anonymous is good for the community.
Let me ask you
Because I
this
think a
though.
lot of people would be surprised if they knew who we are. Like
It's not-
our personal accounts have over 40,000 followers.
So would you be more hesitant though if your face was out there? Because I'll be honest with you, there's sometimes I want to bash people and I'm like, I don't feel like getting into it with them. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not even gonna lie to you. I see some tweets sometime from people that I like, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't even want the beef. Will you be like that if you took the mask off, or would you still just come at people?
I'd still probably come at people, mask or no mask. The brand is, and the mission of the brand is what it is. It's like, don't throw stuff out into the universe you can't defend. Or if you're going to throw out a take and you're wrong, just embrace it. Look, you're going to lose a minute over, like, are you going to lose sleep over saying you're wrong? I think we're all adults in the room, and everyone here knows right versus wrong and how to say, I'm sorry, and I got something wrong. I'm not even asking for an apology. It's more like, yeah, this 166 character tweet was incorrect. There's no point of arguing about that.
So it is time. Thank you, Mr. Receipts, for coming on. Appreciate it. This was this is an interesting night, and yeah, appreciate the opportunity. Do you think it went well?
I think this went well. I'm no complaints. I'm super thrilled to share a stage with these distinguished gentlemen. Honestly, you guys are the reason the community continues to grow, and it is what it is. And I would hope I'd be welcome back on future shows to maybe talk a little football, talk about the future of the brand, and maybe set the record straight for folks that got their panties in a bunch.
Yeah, you and I will get on a video and answer these football questions on the submissions. Thanks for everybody who submitted stuff. We'll cover those. Hey, thanks for joining.
One trade question before I go, just
of course,
dip my toes in.
Let's go.
Okay, 14 team, 1 QB, so not Superflex. Tight end premium with IDP, 42-man roster. Would you ship 105 for 108 in Isaiah Pacheco?
Ooh. Yes.
Tell me
Wouldn't that form? It was how many starters? 14 team?
It's going to be 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, tight end premium, and then 6 IDP starters.
For me, in 1 QB, Forget about the QBs. Someone may take a QB 105, 108, 110. I don't know. I'm assuming this isn't a QB centric question though. One QB though, I'm looking at 105. Who is it? Brian Thomas Jr.
Yep.
RB1 in the class. It feels like it's very flat from that point on. If I can get 2 assets for one in a 14 teamer with deep starters, I'm willing to take the gamble. Move back to 3 spots. Unless you just have extreme conviction on a player at 105, I'm fine moving back. Superflex, I wouldn't.
Cool.
One QB though, I'm fine doing it.
No, sir.
Awesome.
All right. Take it easy. We'll I'll be back in touch, man.
Wonderful. Gentlemen, have a great night. We'll talk soon.
All right,
You
bro.
as well. Later.
All right, let me figure out how to get this.
I might be able to bump you. There we go.
Well, I just
Yo,
removed
Ray.
them, but I don't know how to
Nice.
end them.
Ray,
What's up,
stay
what's up?
on. Stay on and hit some hammers with us. That sound good? You ready to hit some trades with us for a little bit? Or do you need a roll?
Yeah. I'll stay on for a few. Let's get it.
That was Ray going. I
oh,
thought I was going to do something with my family, and you just put me on the spot, bro.
No. 15 minutes. Let's get 15 minutes of hammers, and then we'll close out the final
And then we'll
half hour
close
with
it.
Ray. Ray, you can do 15 minutes of hammers. You ready?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Let's
I'm
go.
I'm good. I'm
Let's
sorry.
go. We get
Yes.
15 minutes of Ray G because he's got a shit ton of stuff to do. Let's go, Clay.
I've got nothing to do. I wanted to watch Constellation on Apple TV. Go ahead.
Let's do it. RBs don't matter. Thank for the hammer. Appreciate it. Ray, we'll start with you on this one. It is a 12-team Superflex start 9. Allen, Herbert, and Trash Cans at quarterback. DJ Moore, Tank Dell, Jaden Reed, Dio John, Judy. And then tight end is Musgrave. Has the 101, 104, 105, 206, 208. Has some thirds. Coming out of a retool, buying veteran running backs. He says he has PTSD of missing past rookie picks. He missed on Jameson, JSN so far. My 101 and 104. Okay, 1 second. My 101, 104, and 105 for Chase, 102, and 204. So that's the first trade there, and then we'll go over the next one. So Ray, we were talking about 12-team Superflex start 9, 101, 104, and 105, or Chase the 102 and 204. What are you thinking?
I mean, immediately my mind went Chase 102 and 204. That's where I went immediately. I mean, I would have a bunch of questions about just other random stuff, league liquidity, et cetera, but 101 Superflex, Caleb, the 4 and the 5, where I can get Jamar Chase, the 102 and the 204. I'm taking Chase, the 102 and the 204.
Where you at on this one, Scott?
Well, assuming the 101 and 102, this has been a common question. If you don't need a QB and you really don't care what you take there, 101 or 102 to me are the same value. He clearly has Allen and Herbert. So I'm guessing this person probably prefers Marvin Harrison, but also thinks Marv is going 102. So if that's the case, you're comfortable trading back from 101 to 102, and it really doesn't feel like it's a value drain. And now you're taking in a start 9, you are taking the 104 and 105 and moving it to a stud and still getting a piece back. So if you go through the math that way, I'm fine with it. Now, if you told me Marvin Harrison is gone at 101,
yeah,
and now I'm holding 102 and I'm looking at drafting a quarterback and I'm going, man, what can I do with that? Maybe I rethink it, but this person seems to think Marv is 102 right
That's what
there.
it seems
So
like.
if he can get the deal done and this is what it takes, and you come out of this with Chase, Marv, and that 4 to still play with, give me that side. I agree with Ray.
Hey, Shane, I'm going to go to you on this, but I'm going to read the last trade that he has, so you'll speak first on this one. So my 104 and Tank Dell for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then he'd stick and pick at 101 and 105. What do you think about that one, Shane? 104 and Tank or ARSB? Start 9, 12-team Superflex.
You're rookie. Shane.
You're on mute. What a rook. No.
This feels like an overreaction, maybe because you put me on blast, putting out what I would take over Amon-Ra 2 years ago.
Hey, Michael Carter over Amon-Ra. That's a top 5 all timer right there.
Oof.
Yeah.
I spent 5 hours on that video. Go ahead.
I told y'all fools don't sell them.
I'm gonna take ARSB in this. I'm gonna take ARSB, and this is just look. I like Tank, right? But it does feel like if a wide receiver ends up there in the first 3 rounds, It's going to really damage Tank. ARSB, I'll say you could put anybody there. You put Jerry Rice there, and well, Jerry Rice playing today, like literally like a 50-year-old man, and he'd still be a stud. But you can put another receiver in there, and Amon-Ra's still going to be that's his show. It's just his show.
Eric, thank you very much for the hammer. Appreciate it. We will start with Scott on this one. 10-team Superflex, half PPR, 12 starters, 4-point per passing touchdown. Burrow, Goff, Geno at quarterback. Wide receivers are Chase, Ayuk, Wilson, Allen, Kirk, and JSN. Then just has Brees and trash cans at running back. McBride, Pitts at tight end. Pick-wise, the 103. The trade is send Flowers and Rice for the 104. And then says double tap Neighbors and Rome / Daniels and Neighbors. He says he likes the idea of replacing my QB2 with someone that could put up crooked numbers in this format, but wondering if it's a mistake to give up the wide receiver depth for it. So Scott, 10-team Superflex, half PPR start 12. Send Flowers and Rice for the 104.
Man, so he has Flowers and Rice on top of the receiver list that he already put out there. He didn't even list those. So, I mean, we're sitting on Chase, Ayuk, Wilson, Allen, Kirk, JSN, and those two. So even in a start 12, we have a lot of receiver depth. What I don't really like, and it's interesting, in a 10-teamer, I'm not a fan of giving up all of this to go, man, I just have to draft Jaden Daniels. I get it. It's a 4-point per passing touchdown. I get it. You have excess at receiver. I'd be fine taking Neighbors at 104. I'd take Neighbors in a 10-teamer easily over Jaden Daniels. Everyone knows my takes in a 10-team Superflex. I just don't value the QBs that high. But I guess my rebuttal would be, is this the best you can do for Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice? But here's, I think, the kicker. If I have Zay Flowers and Rashee Rice in that receiver group, I'm not opposed to trading Brandon Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, JSN. Any of them can go. To me, they all kind of fill the same spots. Can I do something better with JSN and one of those picks than giving up Zay Flowers?
Sure.
So I think I'd actually pass if it's just to take Jaden Daniels. I'd rather attack the QB a different way, maybe get a little more depth and continue to hold that. That's like holding money right there. Those receivers, they have liquidity. You can go get future picks. You can go do a lot of other things and just do this deal. So I'm actually fine passing on it in a 10-teamer.
We got 4 hammers from someone. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Shane, we're going to start with you on this one, then get Ray's thoughts. 12-team Superflex PPR. It's 1.5 for the tight ends, 4-point per passing touchdown, start 8. Goff, Geno, AOC at quarterback. Lovely. Achan, Connor, Warren at running back. Does have Jefferson, CD, Puka at wide receiver, Kittle at tight end. Has the 106, 108, 109, and then has a 208, 209, 225 seconds. He says very likely QB3 falls to me at 106. Second part is, do I take Bowers at 106, knowing a QB will fall? Not really sure what that means. No luck trading up from 106, 107. Owner also doesn't want to trade back. Okay, let's just do this. What are we? Yeah, I know. What are we doing with this? Scott or Shane, rather.
Hey, fam, I'm not used to this kind of stuff, Shane. I was lost 5 paragraphs ago. I was all the way ADHD.
Ray,
you're second.
You have joined Shane, right? He's just as lost.
Right?
And he has to go first.
No, Shane's going first.
These long
Ray,
questions, and it's like, man, my mind starts wandering. Like, I'm gonna just send an offer in the middle of this, and when you get back to me at the end, I'm gonna pick side. So he thinks the QB is going to fall to 106, but he also thinks Bowers could fall to the 106. It's only a half-point tight end premium. If the quarterback, Ray's going to like this, if the quarterback is Jaden Daniels, who I think has the most upside, and he might be the only one sitting there, to be quite honest with you anyway, I'm going to take him. I don't think I'm taking J.J. McCarthy at 106 in this format. Then I might go Bowers for the positional advantage. Start 8 just hurts my head. You have the 106 to 108, 109. You already know I'm going to tell you, like, just fucking combine those and try to trade with anybody in your league so you can move up.
Well, let me just make this easy. It's a start 8, Ray. I need a hammer. And he basically made it clear that nobody in the top 5 ahead of him is willing to trade. You have to make the pick or do something else with it. What are you doing if you need a hammer? Is it not betting on Drake May being a hammer? Is it just going with because you've talked about this of like, man, I feel like I should chase the market liquidity a little bit, and it ain't Drake May, most likely, or JJ McCarthy.
I think that just requires another level of information that we don't have and don't have enough time to ascertain to figure out what the league activity is like, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, hell yeah, if I could get one of those guys and know that I can move that for something else, I would do that. But in this sense, if the question is, you need a hammer at 106, it ain't. Yeah, take one of the quarterbacks, whether it's Daniels or May, or if a receiver fell to you there, I'd be pretty happy about that at 106. I don't even know what the question is, to be honest with you. I have no clue. That man bought 5 hammers, man. When do y'all answer that shit, man?
No, yeah. I mean, I think we did. Right? You covered what you would do with that.
I'll just say this: I am probably, if he made me pick today, and it's a league where he cannot move any of those top 5 picks, and he can't move from 106 or 107 up, I am not drafting the QB. I'm drafting Roma Dunze or Brock Bowers.
We're assuming that they're going to be there.
If he's there.
I mean, it's a start 8. If they're playing this right, neither of those dudes should be there.
Well,
like, he might be in a position where he's looking at. I mean, if they're playing it right, he might be in a position where it's like, all right,
if you do the math, Marv, Neighbors, Caleb Williams, one of those two will be there at 105. So unless it is just leaving him with the choice between Daniels, May, and McCarthy, then clearly you're screwed because the league doesn't value QB at all, right? They lift you the 3 QBs at 106, 107, 108. But I'm guessing that's not how it goes. I'm guessing QB2 goes before him, and he's getting Bowers or a Dunze. Will be there.
Right. I'll tell you what. If Daniels is on the board, though, I'm drafting Daniels.
4 point per passing touchdown. Yeah.
Does it change if it's May?
Yes, because I'm not drafting May if May's there.
Okay. Fair.
I still would. I think. I would look at that QB room and throw my phone across the room every time I saw it. So I think I would probably
pick. Because you think he's going to be a Washington Night Lord. That's why.
No, Commandos. Commandos.
Night Lords.
It was the Night Lords. That's right. Ray, let's do this one, then we'll get you out of here. Okay. You just give your first thoughts. All right. Gage Gilson 9122. Thank you for the hammer. Appreciate it. 12-team Superflex, start 10 PPR. It is 1.5 for the tight ends, 0.2 point per completion, and also Ray a 0.25 point per carry. So every rush attempt, 0.25. At quarterback, Herbert, Burrow, Kyler. Running backs are Bijan, Brees, Charbonnet, Chase, Puka, JSN, Dio, John, QJ, Palmer at wide receiver, and then has Kelsey, Likely, and Dulcich. Pick wise, 101, 103 through 6, and the 111. He says Marv is mine at 101. 102 said he's taking a receiver, but he's a Bears fan. So the question is, would you trade for the 102? What would you give up? What direction would you go with these picks if I had the 102 and if I didn't? What are you doing with this team, Ray? Let's just help him there. He says he's taking Marv at 101. Do you agree? And then what are you doing with 3, 4, 5, 6, and 11?
Hey, he's got a good team. He's got a nice team.
Yeah,
his quarterbacks are solid, dude. RBs, you got the top RBs in the league. Nice little backups. Receivers are good. Got the upgrade with Deontay. I like his squad. Kelsey, Likely, Dolchich. He didn't work out for you, boy. He didn't work out for a lot of us, but I think he's got a good team. 12-team Superflex, start 10, 0.5 tight end premium. What's that? 0.2 per completion and carry. I mean, 101. I don't feel like I would have to take Caleb, which he's already said Marv at 101. The question is, should he move some of those other picks to 102 in order to get Caleb Williams from this guy? Is that sort of what he's asking?
Yeah, I mean, just wondering. It's a Bears fan,
yeah.
So yes, jumping up to snag, I guess.
Play it out to me. So he does that, and then what? He drafts Caleb Williams, and then theoretically trades Caleb for a haul to this Bears fan.
So let me ask you this. We have to decide like what would be worth, even tacking on. Would you tack on the 103 and the 111? There we go again. 103 and 111 for the 102, just to be up there and have a chance to pick yours.
No, not with his roster. No.
Okay.
Not with his roster. I would not do that. If you want to take Caleb at 2, fine. He's got the 103. I would want to go if I had 101, 102 with his team. I would want to, or at least feel more inclined to go Marvin Neighbors. I'd go those two guys. Add two more freaking stuff. I don't even think he doesn't even need a quarterback on this roster. Doesn't need one. I mean, yes, you take it, value, all this other stuff, but shit, he doesn't need a quarterback on this roster.
No.
And you would think if the plan is to trade Caleb Williams to whoever I'm going to trade it to, that Bears fan, well, why didn't that Bears fan come at me with a good offer before the draft? Like, if he was going to come at me, it would have come at me when it was there. Now I'm locked into Caleb, which again is not a horrible thing, but then I'm like, all right, I'm in a position where I have to trade Burrow or Herbert. In my mind, that's how it looks to me.
Well, and I'll just give a shout out to our war tool, destinationdevi.com. We have a war tracker. I'll just say this, just eyeballing this. Joe Burrow averages 25 completions a game. That's 5 extra points on the point per completion, plus the point per carry. I will bet you the QB scoring here, Caleb Williams, Joe Burrow are scoring 10 more points a game
Monsters.
than the wide receivers. So I think Marv at 101, oh man, I got to take Marv because my receivers are a little weaker. I don't think so. I bet you if you ran the war and the league analytics on this, you'd look at the replacement level QBs is sky high. I mean, think about it. 0.2 points per completion.
That's a ton of
plus
points.
0.25 point per carry. Burrow runs 5 times a game, completes 25 passes. That is 6.5 points he's getting off the rip before he does anything. On top of averaging, 18 to 20 a game. If it's just PPR for now, a lot of these leagues, it's like 1.5 PPR for receivers or something. That's where we need to know the specifics. But right here, I would say with what I see on the screen, I'm going Caleb Williams. That's the dominant score. Now, if my market doesn't appreciate that, that's a different story, but we don't know that either.
Well, that's the problem.
Just on the scoring, I'm going Caleb.
If the market appreciated that, right, they'd move up to get him. They would move up to get him because I'm at 101. I could just take him and say, all right, I'm holding him hostage, like guns to his head. If you don't give me what I want, his brains are going to be on the floor. It's just going to be that Caleb just all over the floor because you'll never get him off me until after I draft him.
It's also hard to believe that there's all those bonuses and boosts for those positions and nothing for the receiver. I'd be curious. I'd be curious if there's some target bonuses or some receiving first down. I'd just be curious the full settings because it just seems a little odd, right?
And given the picks he has, I'm taking Caleb 101, and you know who I'm fine with? Roma Dunze, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, because it's point per carry and it's massive completions for quarterbacks. I don't need every elite receiver. I'm going to get plenty of them in this class, but I'm taking Caleb. He's the one that, like, in that format, he's got I'm not saying he could be Mahomes, but he's got that, like, skill set that in that format could absolutely smash. I got to take him.
But what if there's a quarter point first down for every reception? That's not how
he only listed the completions and the point per carry. So what can you do?
You got to spin it, Shane.
That wasn't English. That was not English. What if it's a quarter point per receiving? God, you know what I'm trying to say.
We know.
Shane would look at the roster.
While you're behind.
Shane would say, I don't give a shit about any of that war stuff. Give me the receiver because that's what I need. I got 3 QBs. I don't need any more. Right, Shane?
I'm going to get a high-end QB. I'll tell you that. Or excuse me, a high-end wide receiver. Like, it's going to be one of those, like, top 4 or 5. I'm not moving outside of that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be moving this pick for Devonta Smith. No, Devonta Smith and T. Higgins. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I got 2 wide receivers, guys.
Yep.
Ray, let's get you out of here, man. Thanks for doing some hammers with us. Always good seeing you, bud. We're going to be is he frozen? God, I have to get a screenshot of that. It's such a good one, too. So he's frozen. I didn't do shit. This time. You got bounced from the last one. This ain't me. That's so good.
Yeah, right. Appreciate you, Ray.
Yeah, we'll do him the solid of, putting him out of his misery. He's never gonna want to come on this again. All right. This is where we are. This is our home, right? So let's just hit a couple more hammers here. All right. I'm exhausted sauce. What's up?
I wanted to hit some questions from the audience.
Well, let's do that too, man.
We got Jackie Moon.
We got some starred ones.
Yeah, we got Jackie Moons. Let's hit Jackie Moons. Yeah.
Jackie Moon is actually in the Hammers League. Yeah, he's in the Hammers League. This is one of two. It is a 3 QB league. Please help. 10 team, start 12. It's 2 super flexes, 4 point per passing touchdown, PPR, small tight end premium. QBs are Rodgers, Russ, Bryce. And then he's 2 deep RBs. Wide receivers Tyreek, CD, Olave, Rice, London, Addison. At tight end, Hawk, Musgrave, Komet. Picks 110 and a 25 first. Says his wide receiver room has made me already as one of the best teams in the league. Finished 4th last year. Just acquired CD. What's your advice on how to address my glaring need in this format? And then real quick, added context. When I say healthy RB room, think Hubbard, Moss, guys like that. Mostly guys with ADV right now. So go ahead. 3 QB league, 10 by 12.
I got to correct you on some lingo there, Clay. He means any QB on a 2 deep. That is the new lingo. After your QB room, you just list 2 deep. That's just like saying orb or cans or whatever. That just means I'm rostering a shit ton of backups, which is good because it is a start 3 QB league potentially. So you want to lean into as many of those backups as possible. I get it. It's a 10-teamer, so it's not as big as if it was a 12. But I like that part of the construction. I would want to see, I mean, hell, anyone that's listened to my lineup league construction, I advocate 10 to 12 quarterbacks per team. This one, I probably want to see something similar, even though it's a 10 team. Like, you want to hoard those backup QBs because you probably always want to be starting 3 unless the scoring is, a way that you go. The QBs are just never in the Superflex, which is unlikely. So let's go through the next part of the question. I just want to throw that out there. Wide receiver room is already one of the best. Finished 4th last year, acquired CD. What's your advice on how to address my glaring need at quarterback?
QB, in a start 3 quarterback.
Well, but you've done the first part. When you're weak at quarterback, what should you do? Roster more.
Of it.
Roster backups. I mean, listen to this week's Destination Dynasty. I go through every show. And people just laugh. Oh, man, Desmond Ridder, he's junk. He sucks. He should be rostered in the lineup league. Most lineup leagues, he should be rostered.
Yes.
So go through. Is there any backups that are available for free? Are there any backups that you can get in a trade with that are basically cost you nothing? You pivot off of, he mentioned ADV running backs. Can you sell Zach Moss for a lesser valued running back because Zach Moss is a quote unquote starter? Can I sell Zach Moss for a non-starter running back that still has a role and get a free backup quarterback? Can I get Sam Howell thrown in? Can I get Drew Lock thrown in? Like, I want to get those types for nothing when you're weak at QB. That doesn't answer how to address it on the high end, but I want to try to grow my quarterback stable, especially when I can start 3.
Sounds good. Okay, let's go to Roll D Carp. Thank you for the hammer. Appreciate it. It is a 12-team Superflex, half PPR. Look alive, Shane. Start 10. Allen, Herbert, Brissett, Darnold, Stidham at quarterback. There we go. Saquon, Mixon, Singletary, Chase Brown, Roshan, Kittle, Ingram, and what the fuck is this? Oh, God, there's the F word. There we go. Nice. It's just backwards. Just backwards.
Yeah, it's listening to tight ends first, Clay. What's going on here?
This wasn't me, Roman. No, he's on vacation. This is so Kittle, Ingram at tight end, then has Tyreek, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Kupp, Sutton, Mike Williams, and Wicks. Says looking to capitalize on Saquon hype. Saquon for Adams or Evans, and one of my 203 Zamir Charbonnet pieces, or Saquon and AJB for Bijan and Adams. Basically, should he be trying to sell Saquon for Adams or Evans? And what would he need to add on or get back? Okay, 12-team Superflex, half PPR, start 10, Shane.
I'm not adding anything to Saquon for either of those. His market power is strong right now. Sorry, someone's been destroying us in the chat for one fantasy god regarding Saquon. But he's right. I mean, his market is better than Devontae Adams and Mike Evans. Fantasy god just absolutely ripping us up in the comments tonight. Anywho, no, I'm not making that deal, and I'm not adding anything to it. What was the next part of the question?
The next part of the question was looking to capitalize, like Adams or Evans. Are you interested in? What would you pay for them if you're not like? Look, he's listening to the 203 Zamir and Charbonnet. Would you pursue one of them with that?
Yeah, I'd pay the 203 Zamir. Yeah, I'd probably pay the 203 and Charb or the 203 and Zamir. Not probably would for Adams. For Evans, I would offer one. You may take one of these party gifts. You may have the 203, Zamir, or Charbs. If I give you a 203 and Zamir, I'm going to need something back, a little something, not a lot. If I give you a 203 and Charbs, I'm going to ask for a little bit more.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to the next one here from Skull City. Thank you for the hammer. Much appreciated. It is a 12-team Superflex start 11, 2 tight end.
Start 112.
It's start 11, 2 tight ends, and a 2.0 tight end premium for them. T-Law, Watson, Mayfield, Brees at quarterback. T-Law, Watson, Mayfield, Fields at quarterback. Brees, James Cook, Monty, and NERB on a 53. Then has JJ, Olave, Waddle, and trash cans. Has Hawkinson, Kincaid. Lost in the championship game. My plan was going to the offseason to get more depth by moving Mayfield. But with Fields' situation, I don't know if I should move a QB. Scott, what do you think here? 12-team Superflex, start 11. It's deep. 2 tight end, 2.0.
I'm sorry. I just can't get past the fact that it's 112 point tight end premium. That's the way I'm reading it. So if that's the case, like, trade everything for tight ends. Just start as many as you can. But anyway, aside from that, I just see the 112 point per catch for tight ends. That would definitely be extreme. The most I played in is 2.25. But anyway, so he doesn't have a QB problem. That's the thing. Like, what? And if you said he has a QB problem, like, oh, man, I need to get a hammer QB. What is he trading from a start 11 roster to go get a hammer QB? I'll ask Shane. Shane, when you try to say, hey, I'll add the Deshaun Watson to go get CJ Stroud, what do you have to? You'd basically have to destroy your team to get it done, right? Like, he
has 0 picks.
I was off
no
zero
picks and a thin roster. Yeah. It's like, here, I'll give you CJ Stroud. I'll give you Josh Allen, Shane. But you give me Brees Hall, Justin Jefferson, and Baker Mayfield. How about that deal?
I'm giving you what? Brees
Hall and Justin Jefferson for Josh Allen.
I'm going to pass.
I think you're just kind of stuck. You don't have the picks. I would move Hawkinson if you can move Hawkinson for some sort of value, but I would look to upgrade elsewhere. You've made your bet here. You got to roll with T-Law, Watson, and Mayfield. They're all going to be starters. Fields is a wild card. Fields is a guy that could come in the second half of the year and be a starter option. He could also be a player you could come in the second half of the year, and I guarantee you, if Justin Fields starts, you'll be able to move him for something usable. So he's not a dead asset. He's just not starting week 1, which you don't need him to start week 1 on this team. So I think you're just not going to upgrade. You kind of got to roll back with this team. Maybe you move Montgomery, or maybe you move James Cook and you ride with Brees Hall as the hammer running back, but you need more pieces. You can't afford to upgrade QB here. So he says, I don't know if I should move for one. I don't think he can.
Yeah. Shane, let's start with you here. It is 2 hammers from Joel Allen. Thank you very much. So, oh man, I just see a Twitter DM coming through from that Dustin guy. I literally just saw the banner, the Caleb. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it just came through. Anyway, as we were, Joel, thank you for the 2 hammers. 12-team Superflex, tight end premium, looks like 1.75 for them, start 9. Pat Mahomes, Rashad White, Tajay Spears. Then at wide receiver, CD London, QJ Dotson. And then has Freiermuth, and the rest equals trash. Offers on the table. 103 for the 107 and a 25 first. It says, I have 2. I have some insider info. Oh, here we go. That Malik Neighbors, spelled wrong, is going at the 102 because I'm picking Marvin Harrison Jr. Do I accept? So offer 103 for the 107 and a 25 first.
So am I to assume that this means he has the 101? Or what does he have, the 102?
No, but I think he assumes that it's going to go Marv, or basically he knows that he's getting one of Marv or Caleb at 103.
Yeah.
If he trades for that pick.
Start 9. I won't be trading that pick. You already have a couple 25 firsts. I'm not going to trade it for the 103 and the Wait a minute. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I got very confused for a second. No, I'm not going to trade the 103 for the 107 and the 25 first here in this situation. I know you need another quarterback because you only named one.
Okay, well then read the second part. Boom. He has
I have
insider
some
info,
insider
Malik
info,
Neighbors,
yeah.
and he's picking Marv at 101. I assume that does mean you're right. He has the 101. He's going Marv. He knows 102 wants Malik Neighbors. So if he trades for the 103 right now, I think he's kind of assuming with his inside information, he's locking in Caleb in the
I thought he was trading away. I'm sorry. I thought he was trading away the 103. Oh, no. I was trading for the 103. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
That's how I read it.
I completely misunderstood that. Yeah. I would move the 107 and the 25 first for this. Yes. Go out and get Caleb. It happens to be a need on your team. He happens to be the quarterback one. It's a small starting lineup, so picks are a little devalued. And you're getting what hopefully will be a hammer.
Be sure that's your inside information before you pull the trigger, though. Just make sure it's accurate so you don't give that up and then you go, oh, Caleb Williams went 102. Oops.
Yeah, or that person may trade it before you have a chance to. So yeah, that is an offer on the table. That's good. And the fact that he said I have 225 first, for me, that plays into decisions like that a pretty decent amount. You're like, okay, I still have a little bit of a security blanket with an extra 25. Right. Okay, let's go to one from the crowd here. We are getting close. Shane is yawning. Do you have anything starred here? Yes. Dynasty Griff _ fantasy football. Thank you very much for the question. It is a 14-team best ball, Superflex, start 10, 0.5 PPR with Scott Fishbowl QB scoring. Just took over a team and the team lacks depth. What type of pivots from Burrow / Chase would you try to make that would be reasonable in this format? Scott, go ahead.
Well, if I remember the scoring last year, the QB course scoring was pretty pumped up last season. 14-teamer, so Burrow's valuable, but I'd see if I can go down to, here's where I'd start. I'd start with Justin Herbert. He's devalued right now. Can I get a little piece on top? It's a 14-team start 10. Even a second would help, and I'm kind of a retooling, rebuilding roster. So can I get Herbert and another piece? Can I get Jordan Love and another starter? Can I get Trevor Lawrence and another starter? Like, that's what truly leveraging Burrow for looks like. You're not wanting to go probably too far down because if you're rebuilding, you probably want to have some insulation at QB. Whether you like Trevor Lawrence or not, he has insulation. He'll be in the same spot he is next year and the year after and the year after. Same with Herbert. Same with Jordan Love. So those would be my 3 targets. What I wouldn't want to do is go down as far as, if I'm not contending, I don't want to go down as far as like Jared Goff, even Dak Prescott, because now I'm getting into the range where production-wise, short-term-wise, I'm good. But if I ever need an asset to move, I've already tiered down off the asset that I have, and now I have Jared Goff. I better be ready to use his points. Otherwise, I know I'm probably just stuck with them. So that's where I would start. Chase. I mean, Shane, how easy is it to tier off Jamar Chase? You're just going to the next tier, right? Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London. Like, can you get a first on top of one of those guys? Like, you may have to make that kind of deal in a league where you lack assets, but that's where I'm starting. Top 12 receivers and a first. That's where I'd be starting.
So Griff had a couple of addendums to this after he asked the question. That should have said Scott Fishbowl 11 scoring above. QBs.
You mean like the scoring when it was absolutely shitty?
Yeah.
So it's
incompletion, sacks, etc. Then he had an additional addendum. Also, he should have said Lamb as opposed to Chase. I mean, Lamb is the QB2 on KTC. Chase is the QB3 on KTC. But I think obviously they're almost interchangeable.
Scott, Bogusness got us 3 hammers. Thank you very much. It is a 10-team Superflex, start 8, PPR, 4-point per passing touchdown. Richardson, Purdy at quarterback, JT Swift, Warren at running back, AJ Brown, Higgins, Ayuk, and then at tight end, Ferguson and many cans. Traded Etienne, Ramondre, Spears, Mims for the 104 and Moss. Did I do okay on the trade? What do you think here, Scott? 10-team Superflex, start 8.
I'd want to know what his plan is with the 104. I think.
What is your plan with my daughter?
Well, okay, let's not go there. But if it was a QB that's going at 103, I'd be feeling fine about the trade because you basically turned a bunch of running backs into a receiver, and you can probably swap, truthfully, like Zach Moss in there for Ramondre Stevenson or Tajay Spears, and you're probably not losing a lot in the short-term window that we play in. So you can literally wash one of those running backs out. So ETN and one of those guys and Mims for the 104. And if it's QB that goes 103, QB goes 102, I'm okay with it. He had a shit ton of running backs: JT, Swift, Warren, ETN, Ramondre, Tajay Spears. I mean, way too many running backs for a start 8. So I'm fine if you upgrade your asset here.
What do you think, Shane? You got us 3 hammers, 10-team Superflex start 8. You look dialed in. Did he do okay on the trade? He gave ETN, Ramondre, Spears, Mims, the 104 and Moss.
I'm sorry. Spears and Mims. ETN and Ramondre. It's start 8, Superflex 104. Yeah, I'm more than okay with this trade. Look, I like ETN. I like Ramondre. ETN was what, the RB3 last year, so maybe I don't give him enough respect. But I still like this deal. I'm still going to take the 104. And you got a running back, right? Zach Moss can, on any given week, outperform ETN or Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, it's a 12-team start 6. So there you go. Anytime you can get the best asset, just take it.
Exactly. Okay, let's go to Kirby's here. We will start with you on this one, Shane. 12-team start 10, 1.5 for tight ends.
Mhm.
Allen, Purdy, Cousins, Achane, Chubb, Kendre Miller, and then at wide receiver, Christian Kirk, Dotson, Downs. Tight end is Hawkinson. Has the 104, 205, 325 first. Have 0 wide receivers. Well, he's got a couple. He's got 3 that he listed. How should I build the wide receiver room? Go ahead. What do you think, Shane?
I mean, he has Kirk and Downs, so he is good wide receivers like 4 and 5. It's just those first 3 that we really need. He has the 104, so at worst, he's looking at Roma Dunze, right? I can't imagine that Roma Dunze goes off at 103 or 102. I'd imagine he'll be there at 104, so you're going to do that. I have 225 first. I kind of hate waiting forever. I would try to see what those 25 first could turn into wide receiver wise.
Sure.
I'm just trying to think of someone that might have hit a bump in the last week or so. I was about to say DJ Moore, but for all I know, Roma Dunze is going to end up in Chicago, and then that wide receiver room will be a little too crowded for my tastes. Can he trade running backs? I mean, I love a chain. I'm not trading a chain. Purdy, Cousins. I mean, Purdy. Can I trade Purdy? Can I get more draft capital? Trade Purdy for a first and a second. First this year, second next year, first this year, first next year. See if I can combine that with, well, none of his wide receivers. He said he has no wide receivers. So
Here's how you start. You get rid of Achane, Chubb, Kendre Miller, Jahan Dotson. What's the point of having them on this team? If there is a
I'm
class
not going to win.
to get a bunch of picks and take a shot on, I don't know, receivers, it's this class. Now you're going to whiff on a couple of those, but I look at this roster and go, I would rather have the wide receiver 18 than I would Kendre Miller. Same with Nick Chubb. Like on this roster, they are absolutely worthless. And if you want to re-roll Christian Kirk and Josh Downs and TJ Hawkinson, I have no problem with that either. Kirk Cousins, throw him in.
Yeah.
That's how you build a receiver room. Get rid of a lot of the stuff that you're holding for no reason. Thanks for the question, though, Kirby.
I would say a chain
Yeah.
should get you better than wide receiver 18. I don't care that.
Oh yeah.
you're not building.
But on this team, I'm not opposed to saying best pick for a chain gets them. You know,
Right.
someone gives me a 108, 107. You probably got to consider it.
Yeah, or a similarly, whatever, a
Gotcha.
like valued wide receiver. Except if you just want to switch the asset from running back to wide receiver.
Garrett Miller has a nice one. He says, no comment, just a hammer. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, we got some. We had another supporter who did the same thing. I wish we could. Did you put this up here, Shane?
Yeah.
He's been
So
staring at it for 5 minutes.
No,
fantasy God. Let me just read it, and then Shane, yes, speak. Hammer equals Barkley, but somehow the process is 110 is better value. Love you guys, but can't get past it. Shane,
Yeah,
did you dig deep and try to remember this?
I'm trying to remember when I said that. Maybe I did. If I did, then I shouldn't have.
Point it to us, Fantasy God. I mean, clearly, we're in the That's what we're doing, checking out bad
yeah, but
takes these days.
Just as a point, like I was saying earlier, Barkley has more trade value than that. Now, I don't know how high you could get. I'll tell you right now, if I could get into, and you can posterize this, if I could get into the 107 range for Barkley, I'm fine taking that for him. The 110, if I said it, it's incorrect. I don't remember saying it, but I talk a lot, so it's possible I said it.
Well, I'll just say this. Barkley's not a hammer. I consider a hammer a 20, 21 point per game or more running back. I'm willing to bet that he's not that. Is he very good? Yes. Is he going to hit those numbers? We looked at that the other day, Shane. The odds that a running back that's 27 or older hits those numbers, unless your name is Christian McCaffrey, it's hard to hit those numbers. He can be very good. He could score 16 touchdowns. He could go for 1,400 yards, but hitting those numbers that when you're saying is a hammer is a different story. Now, that's not to shit on Barkley and say I don't want him, but I have some rosters where I go, I have Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, and Barkley. He's not a hammer I value there. I would value the liquidity that one of those guys could bring me. So again, without that 110 versus Barkley, there is context, not to whether the 110 or Barkley is equivalent or worth or less or more, but what else do I want to do with my construction? If he's my RB1 and he's the guy I'm betting on trying to get to 18, 20 points per game, I'll ride with it. I won't trade for the 110. If he's my RB2, RB3, and I have enough running backs on the 53, then I'm willing to take the liquidity on him, even if it is the 110. Give me a third back, and I'm willing to consider it.
We haven't said hi to the crowd, or at least I haven't. We have 5,626 eyeballs watching us tonight. Yeah, this was a fun night for sure. Fantasy receipts aspect of it. I can't wait to listen back to that. But now we're talking football, baby. So hit the like wherever you are, if you'd be so kind. Easiest way to help out this channel. Shane at Senior Frog 82 has a question or a hammer for you. Thank you very much. It is it's a 42-year-old frog. I was born in 84, so I can do math. 10-team Superflex PPR start 9. Fields, Levis, Kirk, Watson at quarterback, Charbonnet, Young, and Cans, ARSB, Garrett, Olave, DJ Moore, Ayuk, JSN, and then at tight end, Andrews, McBride, Ferguson, and Kraft. Has the 101, 102, 204, 206, 208, and 210. He says, do I go Marv/Caleb at 1 and 2, and then just smash running back in the second? Or should I see if I can get a Brees, Bijan, Gibbs type with the 102? Problem is activity level is low. The league winner doesn't trade at all. So Shane, 10-team Superflex start 9.
Yeah, I just wonder the first place that he goes to is wanting to trade off his picks. Like first place I'm looking at is, can I trade Garrett, Olave, DJ Moore, Ayuk, JSN, and add Andrews or McBride? Like not all of them. Obviously, I don't want to trade all of them, but like, can I get a hammer wide receiver for this hurts Olave and JSN? Can I do it with Garrett Wilson and McBride? Whatever the mix and match is. Like, there's so many different fun combinations that you could offer out here before I would go to the picks. It's a super flex, so based on the fact that his quarterbacks are Fields, Levis, he's Kirk there, so I'm guessing that's Kirk Cousins.
It's got to be, because he's in between Watson and Levis.
Watson. Do we think Caleb is going to be significantly better than obviously Levis, but do we think he'll be significantly better scoring wise than Kirk or Watson?
It's a 10-teamer. I don't know how many times I've said this. I'm not taking a quarterback at 102. I'm taking the wide receiver value. It's insulated. It's literally drafting like another Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra St. Brown on my roster. I should be able to go buy a Baker Mayfield, a Geno Smith, a Derek Carr. Look at the receivers I have.
He doesn't even need it. He has 4 of those already. Yeah.
And so the only QBs I want are ones that are putting up crooked numbers. I'm not interested in using a high asset to go buy another quarterback. I think Caleb's good, but I'm curious what he said the team that is at the top has and why that team won't trade. I'm guessing that team probably has a couple hammers, including like a Josh Allen, a Christian McCaffrey. And of course they won't trade the hammers, but I'm not just drafting and chasing him and passing up in a 10-team start 9. You're literally adding another Amon-Ra Garrett Wilson to your team. I'm just taking that value and I'll see if there's QB deals that come up, but it's a 10-teamer. It's not even close. I'm just taking the receivers. They can keep the quarterbacks.
Indeed. Good stream. We are going to end it right there. Almost 10 sharp. Had a fun time. I'm exhausted. I was stumbling over some questions at the end here. So it is time. Would you like to say bye, guys?
Okay, I'll jump in. Hey, truly appreciate everyone that watched tonight. And I look just real quick. I know fantasy receipts might have been a little divisive, but I think the important thing about having someone like that on is one, you should expect accountability from the people that you take advice from, and two, if people can't learn from their mistakes, and if people hold on to a take with their dear life when all evidence suggests otherwise, that it's time to move off of that take, and then maybe that's not the best person to be following.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody in here. Record crowd for probably differing reasons, some good, some bad, but I'm always going to be somebody that is open to criticism, feedback, comments. Like, come at me, but do it in a respectful way. You guys have, everybody watching, you've heard me get animated. I'll be very convicted in my takes. But if you call me out and you say, here's the evidence and the data as to why you're wrong and I don't agree with you, I'll always listen. So I think that's what prides us. That's what makes us the show that we are. It's what makes people want to watch us and continue to tune in, even when we have a different stream like we did tonight. So you're going to continue to get that from us. I'll always fire back at people if they come to me, but it's always going to be in a respectful manner. And the goal is to get to the right answer. The goal is to have fun, get to the right answers, win championships in the end as well. But you get it. So appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight.
Thank you.
Well said. I'm going to end this stream. Thanks, everyone.